So I think till the time I finished my engineering, I did not know that so many career alternatives existed. That, for example, in football, you're tackling a particular player, right? Now it does not matter how good the player is, right? But ultimately, you will do your job the best, and you'll not shy away from competition. So competitiveness comes from sports, and likewise many other things. Okay, great. I think it's a deeply rooted question.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the episode 12, the Leaders Speak podcast. Today, we have someone different kind of a guest what normally we get. He's a sportsman. He used to play a lot of cricket and lawn tennis. And he has more than 15 years experience in management consultants, research experiences in HR. And he has published more than 10 research papers, and he has also with a couple of B schools to help them, mentor them, coach them. And today episode is like it's more than sports and how sports and corporate management go with hand in hand. That's what. Let's dive in to have a conversation with Hema. Hi Hemang, welcome to the episode 12, the Leaders Speak podcast.
Thank you, Suraj. Glad to be here, and thank you for inviting me here.
Thank you so much. And let's start with you. Like, talk about your personal life.
Yeah.
Where you born? What is your education background? That's
Okay. So I was born in a place called Bareilly in Uttar Pradesh.
okay.
And I did my schooling from there, the Army Public School. And after that, I took the most popular career choice at that time, which was engineering. So I pursued computer science engineering, and then eventually landed an IT consulting job in Bangalore.
Okay.
After 2 years of that job, I realized my professional love, which is HR. And then I went on to pursue higher studies in HR at IIM Lucknow. And ever since, in this profession particularly, I worked in consulting space as well as the conventional line management or HR management space. For the last 4 or 5 years, I'm in a leadership role where I lead HR team for a company.
Okay. Great. Very interesting that you done engineering, right? And later you pursue your career in HR.
Yeah.
What made you to choose HR? Like, why not any technical background? Like, because you done engineering, why didn't you go that technical background? Like,
Okay. So I think till the time I finished my engineering, I did not know that so many career alternatives existed,
okay,
and they were as lucrative as an engineering career. It was only when I came to Bangalore, started working in a so-called software development profile. So I was part of this SAP consulting practice.
SEP,
SAP.
SAP. Okay, all right, okay.
So under SAP, there was a technical consulting and functional consulting. Started with technical, but I realized the meat of consulting actually comes in functional part. So also experimented with that. And that is where I needed to know more about the space where I was providing consultation to the clients, which is where I started reading. And I discovered that this field really captivates me and makes me read more. And then when I started reading more and more, I actually fell in love with the psychology, social psychology, anthropology, these aspects of HR, which made me pursue further education in these spaces.
Okay, that's great. I think you were living in Bangalore for the last 15 years, like
Overall, I spent around 11 years in Bangalore.
Okay, that's
2 years in my first stint and 9 plus strong years now. But yeah, it will shortly reach 15.
Acha, yeah, because I just going through your profile and I come to know that you were like sportsman, right? Basically, you played of cricket and tennis in your college days, right?
Yeah.
And you know that there is a IPL favorites going on.
Yeah.
And which team you support?
It goes without saying, I'm supporting Bangalore, RCB.
Yeah, I'm a hardcore fan of RCB, and yesterday match, you were like CSK versus Bangalore, and definitely this time Isala Cup namde. That's what I feel. And as you know, like sportsman, because you are background sportsman, like how that going to help in organization basically?
Okay, so I think sports give you a solid foundation. Number one, perseverance. You know that a skill set will get firmed up only after years of practice, and you keep practicing without leaving it. And what makes you continue the practice is the love for what you're doing, right? So you extract some thrill, pleasure out of engaging in this activity for a long time, and that also adds to your skill. So perseverance is something that you learn from sports. Uh, Competition, especially in high contact sports like football and rugby and many others, you are given a role to play in the team, and sometimes there is a mapping of players.
Okay.
That, for example, in football, you're tackling a particular player, right? Now it does not matter how good the player is, right? But ultimately, you will do your job the best, and you will not shy away from competition. So competitiveness comes from sports, and likewise many other things. Uh, Broadly, we also follow a lot of sports principles in management and especially HR. If you see the practice of performance management has emerged from sports. Yeah. The entire concept of coaching, mentoring came from sports. The concept of engagement, now we of course have termed it employee engagement, but the concept of engagement comes from sports. So HR as a profession, or social psychology, psychology as fields which make up HR, have borrowed or learned a lot from sports management, and they continue to evolve in that direction. Where even the recent trends on whether bell curve or no bell curve in performance ratings, even that had something to do uh, with how competitive sports teams are managing their personnel. So there's a tight fit between sports as a field and management as a field.
That's great. Acha, you talk about when you talk about coaching or mentor, how that going to help in HR function? Like, can you give me some example, or can you give me some elaborate those point? How you going to handle this, like coaching, mentor things?
Okay. So let's take an example of cricket team. When a cricket team coach is appointed, typically the coach has a goal, is given a goal. So the stint is, let's say, 4 to 5 years, where a coach is given a goal of, let's say, winning World Cup, if that's the biggest thing, right? Now a coach is given a goal that coach has to enable the team to win the World Cup. And coach is given a little bit of freedom of how to construct the team, what should be the strategy and those things. Now, according to the strategy, the coach will work on the configuration of the team. How many aggressive batsmen or how many batters who can hold the wicket. Likewise, all-rounders, pinch hitters, bowlers of a particular kind, right? So they'll look at the team composition based on the strategy, and they will start preparing a pool of players who can play that particular role. So, for example, if your strategy is to play aggressively in the first 15 overs, you would have some alternate openers who can play that role for you, right?
For example, Virendra
Sehwag, nowadays Rohit Sharma. So they're all given roles that they have to maximize the opportunities in 15 overs. And it's a high risk cricket. You can get out, but that's okay. The team will not penalize you for getting out because your role is a high risk role, right? Now, the coach incessantly develops those players for their roles. So now the Indian team coach is not developing a particular player in general. They are developing the player to contribute to the strategy that they have picked for, let's say, World Cup, right?
Okay.
So, for example, if they picked Rohit Sharma to play that aggressive opener, then the coaching of Rohit Sharma is to maximize run score on every possible ball. Okay, right? The training is not so much on maybe defense or rotating the strike. Rotating the strike is a general thing, but his coaching would more be towards maximizing the opportunities on every kind of ball, right? So, how can we maximize the run scored on, let's say, a Yorker, low pull toss, and bouncer, and those kind of things. So this is coaching, where coaches are formally appointed. They could be your direct line reporting managers or skip level managers. So in corporate, formally appointed means that, right?
That's okay.
Uh, and they coach you towards a particular objective. Yeah. That objective in corporate could be high sales or high profitability or something else, right? Now, mentor is somebody who doesn't sit in the line of reporting. So your manager cannot be a mentor, or your skip level cannot be a mentor, because their job is to get or extract performance from you in line with the overall objective of the team, right? Mentor is somebody who can help you in specific areas, and mentor brings in the let's say the experimental space in you. Like, you can try and fail, but the mentor will not judge you. It will not affect your performance appraisals, because if you have that fear that experimenting with something could have consequences for my appraisal or promotion, you would not experiment, right? So mentor is somebody who provides you that free space of experimenting, failing, but learning from that experience. Mentor could, let's say, guide you on a very particular aspect. For example, in cricket, let's say we have an opener who's very good at scoring runs, but he's not suited for handling situations where wickets are falling from the other end. And then the person may be required to hold the wicket or defend. So now, specifically, that person could be given a mentor. Or, for example, as an opener, while I like playing aggressive cricket, which is the role I've been given, but I also aspire to play test cricket. Now, the coach doesn't see me in the scheme of things of test cricket, right? Because I'm seen as somebody who's aggressive on the field, maximize runs. I'm not seen as somebody who can hold the wicket for a long duration of time, which is required in test cricket. Somebody who's technically solid. But as a person, I aspire to become that.
Okay.
Now, this coach may not be able to help me, because the coach is taking the team towards a goal, right? And my aspiration for playing test cricket doesn't make up a part of that goal. But the coach could help identify someone outside the formal BCCI stream of things who could, let's say, help a player like me. Likewise, in corporate, your manager or appointed coach could identify a mentor who's outside the reporting relationship, but who could, let's say, develop you on a particular aspect. For example, let's say I struggle in automating things.
Okay.
Yeah. Or let's say bringing new ideas.
Okay.
I am very good at doing operational work,
Okay.
managing here and now, but I don't bring disruptive new ideas. Now, there could be a mentor or a person beyond my team who's pretty good at that and who could help me navigate that path, right? So in sports, it would be, let's say, if I'm talking about Virendra Sehwag and you're trying to teach better cricketing technique or defense technique to Virendra Sehwag, probably you would say Krish Shrikant or Sunil Gavaskar could be mentors.
Okay.
Likewise, many other names. Right? I'm just taking some examples. In corporate, it could be some other people in the same company. Sometimes it could also be outside the company, right? But these people help you in a particular area, like creating new ideas, etc. So it's a, let's say, well-established parallel between sports and management.
Oh, is it? No, that's a really nice prospect towards sports and management.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, the role of coach is more into day-to-day activities to reaching your end goal. And the mentor, maybe he can show the right direction whenever you require. Is it so?
I'll slightly classify. So coach can also focus in long term.
Okay.
The coach can also focus on long term, just that they will only focus on the objective that has been set, because that's their role, right? So if a coach is playing the right role, they are focusing on the objective given to them for the team. Mentor doesn't have a particular objective in mind.
Okay.
Mentor's objective is mentee's objective.
Sorry.
Yeah, so you come to somebody as a mentee and you say, my objective is to start generating new ideas in my field, right? I struggle when it comes to generating new ideas. So my objective as a mentor is your objective.
Sorry.
And hence this relationship is much more based on friendship and trust rather than or maybe rather than coaching, right? Because coaching is a more formal relationship. This is informal in nature. Mentor can also give you access to their personal network. Like, for example, you come to me with this proposition that you want to generate better ideas. Now, let's say you are coming from marketing space. I am from HR space, right? I can help you a little bit. But I believe there is another friend of mine uh, who handles marketing for a large company who's done this well. I can also connect you to that person. I will not fear that what if you find a job at his company? I'll not fear that. But if I were a coach, I would fear that because my objective is to create it is right, not to send off people to better jobs.
Correct.
So those kind of differences exist.
Yeah. But don't you think that when you talk about mentoring, for example, when you give an example of sports, okay, the person, they will give full freedom, okay, respect of any kind of, like, let's say first 15 hours, the opener who's play very aggressively, if they couldn't make the run, like they couldn't score the run, that doesn't affect to the overall team because they're meant for that kind of things. And he told some mentor going to help them in those kind of. When you talk about same corporate, when you talk about these kind of things, don't you think that the person, the employee of the organization is going to affect your overall performance when it's come to individually? Because you're more into monetary things, right? And the person who joined corporate with the company, he has to performance.
Yeah.
And how you manage these things, like?
So I think performance in corporate is pretty much taken care of by role requirement, goal setting, and then manager ensuring through mechanisms that inputs to your performance are continuously measured, monitored. Feedback is given whenever there is a drop in performance. So I think corporate has figured out various mechanisms of ensuring performance happens. In corporate mentoring kind of a use case, mentoring is on certain higher level aspects, which can, if not polished, those can, let's say, limit your growth prospects in the company, right? So mentor is not necessarily working on here and now performance problems. Mentor may be working on potential problems. Potential means, let's say if you are at level X and you want to go level X plus 1, what would it take? And what are the areas where you lack? Mentor will probably have one such area for mentoring engagement and will try to hone your skills or, let's say, polish you on that particular area. So mentor is also working towards performance, but futuristic. Will you be able to perform as X plus 1 2 years down the line? That's what mentor is focusing on, right? Mentor is not focusing on today, next month. That your manager is anyway taking care of. So if both these engagements, coaching and mentoring, work well in a company, they're taking care of performance against objectives, which could also be long term. And they're also taking care of your growth as an individual, your, let's say, ambitions as an individual in long term, ultimately helping the company. Because if you find the right career paths in the company, you will stay longer, you'll continue contributing as an individual, which the mentor is contributing. Sometimes mentors also advise you towards the right career path. For example, you could be a techie, but the mentor identifies good product management skills.
Okay.
So the mentor can also nudge you in that direction, that why don't you do product management? So those things are also possible. And it's a good use case for the company. Company would anyway hire a product manager from outside.
Absolutely.
They might get somebody who knows internal intricacies. So it's a win-win situation.
You know the culture of the organization, you know the team, everything. That's going to help him
Absolutely
grow in as a professional also.
Yeah.
That's right. And as you mentioned in the conversation that employee engagement is one of the very important things in HR when it's come to HR. How do you define employee engagement? Like, and what are the things you take care of employee when it's come to employee engagement? And how much that going to impact the employee?
Okay. So theoretically, employee engagement has 3 discourses. Some researchers define it as a state as in mental state, a state of emotions, affect, etc. Then there are behavioral theories where people say if you continue engaging in particular kind of action, that is engagement. And then some people say it's a personality trait. So if you have certain traits, you'll get more engaged in certain kind of work. And if you have certain other traits, probably not this work, some other work, right? But again, the concept of engagement has some linkage with the sports.
Okay.
Or let's say, let's pick an example of circus.
Okay.
Yeah. Where, let's say, a performer is walking on the rope, goes from one side to another side.
Okay.
Now, it requires a lot of balancing, weight management, uh, breath management, concentration, and so many other things. It's a very difficult task. If you give it to a regular person, probably the person will not. Now, this person has practiced it, so the skills are there. But in those 2-3 minutes, when the person is actually crossing a rope, the person needs all kind of synergies between emotions, cognition, and physicals. Otherwise, there are high chances of accidents. So the person is thinking about something negative, like what will be the consequences if I fall down? Or the person starts feeling anxious. The person will shiver and will not be able to cross the rope, right? So emotions, cognitions. The person is thinking about step by step how to make the right movement so that logically you organize yourself to cross the rope, right? So cognitions, physical, weight management, breathing, and those kind of things, right? So all of these three things have to be together for a person to cross the rope without any accident.
Okay.
This is engagement. Now, this is peak engagement. In those 2 minutes, the person did not have any other thoughts, emotions, or physical diversions. And that enabled the person to do the task, a difficult task and a risky task, by the way, right? Do that reliably. And you can make that person do it day in and day out. For those 2 minutes, the person has peak engagement, right? So engagement is defined in this way as well. Affective, cognitive, physical. There are other theories which say there are 3 dimensions to engagement: vigor, absorption, dedication. Right? Vigor means your ability to ricochet from a failure, come back from a failure.
Okay.
Absorption means how intensely can you focus on a task. So when you start working on something, you don't realize that the time is flying. Absorption. And dedication, how much does your attention span about a particular task? Do you look around corners to improve areas, take ownership of that space? So dedication, which means you are committed to that task. So these are 2 popular notions about engagement. The unpopular notion in corporate is fun at work. Some people use fun at work and engagement interchangeably. But as HR professionals, our job is to create those moments of high engagement. Now we realize sports have proven it, and the science also says the same thing, that engagement is not a consistent linear thing.
Okay.
Nobody can be engaged throughout for a long period of time. It's a phenomena that follows a sine curve or sinusoidal curve where there are peaks and troughs and those things. So our job is to maximize the peaks. Can we stretch the peak? Can we carry forward engagement for a little longer?
Okay.
Right? By giving the person, let's say, reward, recognition, those kind of positive reinforcements. Can we stretch it a little longer?
Got it.
Can we minimize the lows? Right? What interventions can we bring to create those moments of engagement? It could be sometimes as simple as automating certain manual tasks where somebody's energy is going away. It could also be the kind of manager the person deals with, probably a particular style of feedback which can energize a person rather than drain out a person. And then there could be many other such interventions which HR people focus on to ensure that they maximize engagement levels in the company.
When come to employee performance, as you're talking about, there will be high and low. But when the high, the performance of the employee, everyone appreciate. when the same employee if is in a low, what kind of like how do you manage those kind of people? Like what are the things you're going to help us? Because every person, like with respect to as we discussing about more in sports and play a sportsman or employee, they have ups and downs. How are you going to manage when the particular person or employee in a low space?
Okay. I think it starts with diagnosis. What ails somebody, basically, right? So let me give you examples of two managers. One manager would start giving negative feedback when your performance is low, right? Now, as an employee, your morale is already low. You know that you're not performing. You know that your goals are not being met. And somewhere you may also be questioning yourself, right? And at the same time, there is somebody else who's depleting you. In my view, negative feedback over and above already negative emotions, etc., rarely works. It can work on certain people who are so determined that they take negative feedback and turn it around, but those personalities are few. For most people, what will work is a manager, which is use case number two, who asks the employee, how are you feeling? Why do you think this is not happening? And leave it to the employee to figure out. Many times employees know. They are also human beings. Sometimes they recognize their emotions. They may also be able to diagnose the reason for failure. Now, with those open-ended questions, you've given the control to employee. And when employee is diagnosing the reason, why you can help, you can nudge that I think not this, maybe this, right? But you are not answering on behalf of the employee. By the way of doing this, the moment an employee diagnoses the reason for failure, they are also committing because they are saying it themselves. You're not telling them.
Sorry.
They are saying it themselves, which means they have also realized and recognized the reasons for failure. Now, let's say 10-20% employees would probably cope up a negative feedback. They'll be determined to bounce back. Resilience will bring them back.
Yes.
Let's say 30-40% people with this open-ended questioning will do self-discovery, self-realization, and understand the reasons of failure and get back. But still, good 40-50% people will still need more. Now, what more? One could be lack of clarity. While you set your goals on the system, etc., probably some people do not understand them as well as you understand. So go down the basics. Validate the understanding of those goals, whether the employee understands what it means, whether the employee understands how it can be done, right? Validate that. Sometimes the goals may be unrealistic or too many goals, etc. So you can tame those problems. So goal setting is the first part of diagnosis. The second part is feedback. Now, based on the past underperformance or dipping performance, you may have noticed certain tendencies. For example, somebody is failing because the person is not planning in time, not planning ahead, right? Now you have noticed it that you manage certain tasks, but I don't think you schedule them on time or you inform your stakeholders on time. If you can just see this, probably the outcomes will be different. So sharing this feedback could help. Third, when you only share feedback without expressing an intent to help, it appears as a judgment. If somebody gives you judgment about your behavior, you'll either defend or will probably just rub it aside. You'll probably listen to it, but leave it aside. But if somebody comes to you and says that I'm invested in you and I trust you, that you'll be able to recover. And if you do this, I think your recovery could be faster and I'm there to help you. So whatever you need, I'm there to help you. Most of the times, employees will not come back for help.
Correct.
They know what to do, right? But they just needed this word of trust, encouragement. So out of those 40-50% employees, maybe 20% employees will recover just because the manager is so kind to them at a time which is challenging, right? For remaining 30% cases, probably you need to handhold a bit. Probably they genuinely do not know how to do it. And as a manager, you've seen that phase. You've been on the other side, so you've seen that. Probably you can demonstrate, or you can find somebody else in the team who can demonstrate, or who can handhold them for a bit, right? And in that handholding period, you observe, provide feedback, those kind of things. So ultimately, performance recovery is not a rocket science. It's grounded in basics. I have said very simple things. There could be more advanced issues and more advanced things to be said about this, but at least these basics will recover a lot of underperformance.
Right. Yeah. As you rightly said, one of the things what you the feedback to the employee, right? And in our organization, so we do a lot of feedback sessions and need to meet with the second line leader and every 45 days, and we give the feedback for the last 45 days. And there are certain people who take it very positive, and they'll tell the person who given the feedback, they'll tell thank you so much for giving feedback, and they work on that and they'll improve themselves. And the certain people who don't take it in a very positive way. Okay, they will offend them. They're like, they don't like it basically because someone is giving feedback on directly on you, that they'll feel uncomfortable or they don't feel so comfortable. Those kind of people, how are you going to manage?
Okay. As you rightly said, most people or many people who do not take feedback sportingly, there could be 2 or 3 reasons broadly in my understanding.
Because they know that's going to help them to grow, but still they don't take it in a positive way.
First is the timing of feedback. If feedback is coming at a time where they are disappointed with themselves, they are fighting negative emotions, and there is something which is appearing very judgmental.
Okay, that's rightly.
So sometimes it's about timing. Like if I fail now, and as a person, I'm very reflective in nature. So when I fail, I start thinking about why did I fail. You've seen Virat Kohli. When he gets out, he doesn't like it, right? And when he's walking back to the dressing room, if somebody gives him feedback, you know what is going to happen? Yeah. So sometimes it's about timing.
Maybe the time is very important here.
As a manager, as a leader, you need to understand at what time a person will be more accepting of the feedback. That's number one. Number two, tonality of feedback. While we are using the term feedback, ideally it should be feed forward. What it means is, rather than giving a judgment or assessment of what happened, that shouldn't have happened or that should have happened in a different way, why don't you talk about how it should happen in future and what will you do as a manager to help the person do it?
Got it.
Which is looking forward, not looking in the past, right? Sometimes this kind of a feed forward works with people who are resistant to feedback, right? Because feedback appears more judgmental, you're typecasting. Some people also fear consequences, right? That because you formed certain judgment about me, and if I confirm that, probably you'll ding me in appraisals, or probably you'll not promote me, right? So they become defensive. The third part, or let's say the third alternative, is to make them understand with some examples where certain people have recovered or let's say improved a lot after some feeding forward, right? Probably the same person has changed something because you said something in the past and the person took it seriously and changed. So use examples. And within this third kind of a use case, you can also use some rewards. So what happens is core psychology. There is something called operant conditioning, which is, let's say, certain tendencies or traits that have been formed due to years of exposure. So let's say for the first 17 years of your life, you have been told or you've been asked to do certain things with the promise of reward. That do this and I'll give you chocolate. Psychologically, you've not realized, but you've become that person. That only when you see something hanging as a reward, only then you do it, right? So it's operant conditioning. It is difficult to change because it's taken so many years to form. And today, if I, rather than dangling a chocolate, if I start giving you punishments, you'll not like it. Yeah. Or without a reward, if I ask you to do something, you may not do it. So in these cases where it's a case of conditioning, how a person has, let's say, come up in life, or how the personality of somebody has shaped up, then in these cases, certain operant conditionings, which is you change the behavior by giving them some certain positive reinforcements for changing. So you gave feedback that when you talk to customers, you're not pleasant, you get agitated, or you don't hear them out. So let's do this. When the next customer comes, do not speak until the customer finishes. While you may have the answer, just stay silent. And I'd be observing you. If let's say in a day you manage 10 customers and you stay silent in 8 cases, I'll give you 1% extra, whatever, reinforcement, right? You do it for 10 days. Now the person who was configured in a different way will start changing the configuration because of positive reinforcements. So this is for very, very hard cases where operant conditioning is taking over and hence they are unable to change. Yeah, but these are easy things that managers can do.
That's great. Yeah, what I understand is it's more basically on the experience point of view. The employee, how you go through the experience. Now, my next question is, how is different is from employee engagement and employee experience?
Okay, great. I think it's a deeply rooted question. So if I say engagement is a state, mental state, or let's say combination of mental, emotional, and physical state, it's a state of an employee which can be shaped up by the environment. Environment as in the office I sit in, the team members I have, manager I have, the kind of things that the company offers me, right? Now, these offerings or this environment shapes up my engagement. Now, how I feel when I interact with these environmental variables is experience. So, when I talk to my team members, how do I feel? Add more nuance to it. My team works in a hybrid mode. So, I work virtually, my team members are in office. How do I feel when there is a meeting? I'm the only person virtual and my team members are in house, right? And likewise, extend this example to every other environmental variable. How do I feel accomplishing a small task in the company? Let's say I have to apply for leaves, or let's say I have to declare my or do my tax declarations. How easy is it for me? Now, the internal service quality, which is a composite of how my team members address me, how other departments whose output is my input, how that input comes to me, how are my interactions with my team members, managers, and other teams. Ultimately, these are all services, right? The quality of internal service that I get as an employee is my experience. It's likely that I take a large, let's say, perception of that internal quality, internal service quality, and will expose my customers to that. What it means is the kind of service I get internally, it's likely that this is the kind of service I will pass on to my customers. Hence, employee experience is so important, because when they see that they get a very good experience inside, they will be forced, or let's say motivated, to deliver a similar kind of experience outside to customers. So this is the inside out approach of delivering good customer experience. So deliver good employee experience and help that translate into customer experience.
Yeah, that's I firmly believe that your environment is greater than your willpower.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. And thank you so much for sharing. And last year, you published a research paper, okay, the titled Impact of Transformational Leadership on Service Delivery Behaviors of Frontline Service Employee in the International Journal of Retailing.
Yeah.
Could you just elaborate that one? Like, could you explain on that?
Okay, generally I avoid talking about scientific publications in.
I prefer something interesting for us. Yeah, maybe my audience get some value for value on this.
Yeah. So scientific publications are very complicated in the way they are written, and hence translating them into easy language may take away some richness of the work. So I'm just cautioning our listeners towards that. But if I have to simplify the idea, basically, service employees are the employees who represent a company. Ultimately, they represent the company based on the training they've been given, the SOPs they've been given, or technology based support they get from the company. A service company, like let's say consulting, banking, and many other service companies, uh, they have a promise to the customer. So, like, let's say, for example, a bank has a promise of friendly banking. So, some bank can have a statement, bank aisa, dost jaisa, and likewise, right? Ultimately, they are all signaling that it's a friendly.
Yes, yeah.
So when you get in touch with our ATMs, it would be easy to follow instructions. When you get in touch with our employees, they'll be warm and they'll guide you and those kind of things. So this is the perception a service company is building as a promise to the customers that when you come to us, you'll experience this. Now, large part of this promise is delivered by the frontline employees. So if we are talking about a bank, it could be your cashier, teller, those kind of stuff.
Who interact with the customer basically. Okay.
Frontline service doesn't mean low-level employees. Frontline service could be anybody who interacts with the customer, right? Frontline means this is the line that is visible to the customers.
Exactly.
In consulting, it could be very senior people like partners of consulting practices, right? So they are also engaging with customers directly, right? So basically, the company has made a promise to the customer that when you interact with us, you will find this kind of an experience. So the customer is engaged, customer wants to experience it, customer comes to a bank branch. Now, when the customer comes in, let's say the people sitting on the counters are not responsive. They're not looking at the customer. They're busy doing their work. They're not responding in time. Their response is not helpful. Internal processes are so cumbersome that the customer doesn't understand how to even withdraw money, right? Or deposit money or whatever, right? Then the experience is totally opposite of the promise. And that customer will never return to this bank. Very likely. So what failed? Was it the promise that failed or was it the delivery of promise that failed? In my view, it's the delivery of promise. Promise is good, right? And it's a reasonable promise. It succeeded because it brought the customers inside the branch. And that is the role of the promise.
Correct.
What failed is delivery. Now, in my research, what I explored is how do leaders enable the frontline service employees to deliver their promise?
Okay.
Yeah. So, what kind of behaviors can employees exhibit to deliver the promise that the company has made to the customer? The leaders or managers who are enabling these employees to deliver, what kind of behaviors should they exhibit to ensure that their employees deliver the brand promise? That's what I was exploring in my research. That's the easiest explanation I can provide.
Yeah, it's more into behavioral traits,
Right.
basically, rather than maybe skill or technical. It's more into behavioral traits.
Yeah.
That's very important for it.
The skill is something that gets you employed. So you hired because you are skilled. Right? But 3 different banks needing the same skills would expect you to be able to.
How you approach, yeah, that's really great. Thanks so much for giving input. There is a lot of technology or trends happening in the market. Okay, irrespective of any kind of a profession, or maybe even sales or marketing, HR, operation, or technical kind of things. When it's come to HR, what trending in HR?
There are a lot of trends. Certain trends that are stretched longer and hence they are realities now of HR, but there are certain initial trends as well. So one big trend which is coming up now is AI in HR. AI has many use cases in HR, right from recruitment, where you can analyze uh, somebody's answers or responses through tech, screen TVs, uh, and there are many other applications of that as well. Likewise, performance management also has applications in AI. So AI in HR will be a big thing. It's already emerging. Uh, Employer branding is a trend that has been here for at least 10 years that I know of. It's now a reality, but it's a massive trend.
Employee branding.
Employer branding.
Employer branding. Okay.
Too many companies, too many jobs,
Correct.
very few skilled people, right? How do you market your company or market the jobs? It's more about marketing the company. Marketing jobs is recruitment marketing, but either way. So how do you market your company? Put forward your value proposition so that number one, employees discover you. Second, they intend to apply to you. Third, they actually apply to you. And fourth, the employees who are within become your ambassadors. They stay and say good things about your company, right? So employer branding is a long trending thing in HR, and not many HR professionals have actually gained expertise in that area.
Employer branding.
Yeah, which is why you still find a lot of marketing professionals pouring into that domain. In some companies, you would find employer branding reporting to marketing function. In some profiles, if you spot employees who are working in employer branding domain, you'd find marketing background, right? While it borrows a lot from marketing, it's different from marketing of products or services. Marketing employment, in my view, requires a specific kind of understanding of a company. So employer branding is still big, and still we don't have sufficient people who do it well. Right? Third is analytics. So sales or core business is all about data. They know business in numbers, right? And they respond in numbers. Uh, Till some time back, the response of HR was not in numbers. While I'm not trying to say that empirical or quantitative data is the only thing, of course, HR always had a lot of qualitative insights. But the way these insights should be tabled to drive a business decision requires certain kind of understanding of analytics, right? So HR analytics is another thing, which is becoming a core and essential skill set for every HR professional. Analytics is third in my view. And the fourth one, a trend that was rightly a trend, and very recently we saw a downtrend as well in that area is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Yeah. So it emerged as a necessity. Some people looked at it as a way to do things right in the society.
Okay.
Right. So companies are nothing but reflection of a society. Indian companies embody Indian values, right? The way they are run, the family-run businesses are run like homes or societies. So when they observe certain problems in the society or certain things that need attention in the society, they find a house in a company. So companies notice that certain segments of the society were underrepresented, uh, and they started identifying them as cohorts that could be focused upon in a company, which is why this lens of viewing organization as a reflection of society made it important for us to uh, embody the diversity we have in our societies, right? That was one lens. The second lens was coming from, let's say, established scientific research, which I can translate an easy question. Do you want 11 Virender Sehwags in your team, 11 Rohit Sharmas in your team, or do you want different kind of skill sets? Different kind of people.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of their temper, personalities, the type of cricket they play, right? So why is it not that true uh, about the company? It should be. So second was a proper performance-backed, science-based approach to diversity, where companies realize that we need a variety of skill sets which can be present in different cohorts. And all those cohorts should then be represented. The third way to look at diversity is in form of representing your customers. So if you're a company who sells products only to women in segment 21 to 30 years, which is age group, right? Why shouldn't you have more women or all women working in your company? Or probably women from a particular age group dominant in your company, right? So it is customer backwards. Who are your customers? If your employee demographic is not representative of your customer base, probably you may not be able to understand the customer needs so well that you intend to. While there are ways of marketing, buying marketing research reports, etc., but still to apply them in a company needs those kind of that kind of understanding in the company, which could be represented by a particular side of demographic. So these are the three lenses, very right lenses, but where diversity fails is inclusion. You bring different kind of people, but you don't make them work together well. That is where it fails. So diversity is not bad. Diversity is great, much needed. What is required is more inclusion, and which is where sometimes diversity initiatives do not show the outcomes they intend to, right? And when they don't show outcomes, that is when what happened recently happens. Yeah. But I believe it's not a trend, it's a reality. And why it may be dying down for now or maybe subsiding for now, I don't think long-term companies would be able to stay away from it. Well, so that's a very, very long-term thing for companies now going forward. But more focus should be on inclusion than just diversity.
Yeah, as you're talking about, there is a recent year, there is a downtrending of DIE, right? According to you, what is the one reason for that?
Okay, so while on the surface it appears like one particular government is not in favor of diversity spends,
Okay.
and because the government has taken away certain spends in DEI initiatives, companies have also played a part with the government, etc. But that's only the surface. You're just scratching the surface.
They move to government, not to the corporates.
So government affects corporates as well.
Okay.
Government is trying to influence a country's stance on how diversity should be. But nevertheless, I don't think the stance is individualistic in this case. The stance is stemming from the fact that diversity initiatives have not yet shown empirical results in a company. Like in an innovative company, does bringing people from different, let's say, subject areas or expertise areas or companies or age groups or gender, do all of these things add up to more innovation in the company? The moment we have a lot of research substantiating it, nobody will question. But until we have that research, somebody can question that I've been spending this money for so many years, but what is the outcome, right? So I think that is where substantiation is lacking at this point. And the moment we have more substantiation, I think that will get up. The other thing is, I think many times when we talk about diversity, we go to visible sources of diversity. Like in India, focuses more on gender-based diversity, visible sources.
But
In the West, it could also be about color, race, ethnicity, mostly visible. What we do not focus on a lot is invisible sources of diversity, which is personality, neurodiversity, and those kind of things, because they're also difficult to understand, identify, and hence we have taken an easier route. Now, visible sources of diversity may not always bring in invisible sources of diversity. Like, for example, I want two people who will tackle a problem differently.
okay.
Now, I ask you to pick two people. you would say pick one male and one female. But it's possible that both of them may have the same approach. So the outcome that you expected was different. But the people you chose were different because you went with visible sources of diversity, right? But at the same time, it's not easy to anchor towards invisible sources, and hence people have not opted for that. But I believe in the next generation of DEI initiatives, invisible sources of diversity will gather more pace, because ultimately the next generation will be bound by results. People will ask about results, and that is where invisible sources of diversity win. Right? So that's where I stand.
Yeah, when you're talking about HR trying, you told majority of HR people, let's say 90% of the HR people don't focus on employer branding. If you ask you that how you can help people to understand important of employer branding, because as you mentioned rightly that there's a marketing people who take care of this employer branding. But when it's come to as a HR person, you need to focus more on employer branding. That's very, very important as per you that things. How can you help people to focus on one thing that, okay, this, if you're going to focus on this particular thing, the employer branding may be good for your organization.
Okay. So one question is whether HR people should focus on it, or
Yeah.
can marketing people do it well because they know the skill set.
Again, depends on the size of the organization.
It doesn't depend actually. I'll just give you an analogy.
Good.
So in employment, what is the product? The product is experience, the promise that the company is making to you. It's not a short-term relationship, right? Like some people can treat it as a short-term thing, but it's a long-term decision. If you're joining a company, you want to know what will that company give me in return for my skills, time, effort, whatnot, right? So the first part is value proposition. Value proposition is simply give and get kind of a exchange that you give. I want people with this experience, this skill set, etc., and they will get this in return. So that is the value proposition. When you buy a product, you get a value proposition, right? You pay 70,000, you'll get these features, this kind of a prestige and those kind of, right? Same thing is true with employment. Now, who owns the product? The value proposition, who owns it? HR owns it. HR has made that proposition. They know what is best about this company. Why do people stay in my company? What differentiates me from my competitors? Why do people join the company, stay in the company, and those kind, right? So when the product is mine, I be the best marketeer. For somebody else to come in and understand my product better than me requires a lot of time, right? Now, the time taken for me to learn a little bit of marketing skills vis-a-vis time for a marketing person to learn my value proposition, I think I would learn marketing skills much faster.
Correct.
And that would also add value to my own career, right? So I believe HR people are the best suited people to engage in employer branding because it's their product, their service, right? If you can't sell your product, sell your service, then product may not be good enough. So if you want to prove that your product is good enough and people should join for that, you should come on the fore and try to market that. Now the advice is, I think right now employer branding is a necessity because there are too many companies and too many good companies, by the way. It's not a choice between something very good and something very bad.
Yeah.
Very, very good companies in competitive landscape where if you go to buy a laptop, is purchasing laptop easy? Not easy. Many people do not know i3, i5 and the one generation. How will it make difference to the kind of work I do, right? So there is a state of confusion that should I buy this laptop or that laptop? Same confusion exists in my prospective employees, right? Should I join this company or that company? JDs look the same. But I don't know what beyond JD will I get in the company. So it's a necessity to cut through the confusion and give that prospective candidate a decisive choice that this is what you'll get. And if you're looking for this, you must join us. So I think it's a necessity, not an option anymore. And hence, HR people are best suited. They must get into it.
This is really something new to me, that HR also has to look into the marketing aspects. That's because that's going to help a lot of an organization, as you given examples. Thank you so much for sharing, and it's been great conversation with you. More into like I come a background of a sportsman, and you also same, and we talk about more on sports related examples. Now, if you want to give some pro tips for our audience for HR, upcoming HR professional, HR people, what are the tips you want to give?
My tips are very basic because these tips are for new incumbents in HR. So the first step is study. While I see many professionals around me, like I see finance professionals, actuary professionals, they study every day throughout their career, because without that, they can't sustain. I see medical professionals, they have to study, do research, practice, all in tandem, right? So in certain professions, studying and staying updated is a necessity, without which you can't thrive in your profession. Somehow the perception that has been built about HR is it's easier, which is not true. It's a false perception. So anybody coming into this field must know the core theories, basics, etc. of HR, and must continue to reinvent their own selves by investing in learning, just like any other competitive professional in any other field would do, right? So studying about the field, not necessarily books, etc., but knowing more about your field. Many times in discussions, HR people fail to represent their strong point of view because they don't know beyond 2 clicks, right? And hence, whatever the other party or let's say a business leader is saying starts making more sense because you can't depend your field any longer, right? That should not happen. So that's the first pro tip. The second pro tip is learn more about business. So HR does not stand in isolation. What works in a particular company may not work in another company. Okay. And what works here needs a deep understanding of why this business is unique, or what business model do we follow as a company. I feel not knowing about core businesses, business models, etc., could hurt future HR professionals. So knowing about business or business acumen, as you may call it, could help. And third, don't ignore science or numbers. We believe we are in a profession of philosophy and perspectives, which are all qualitative in nature. But in my view, numbers are equally important. To even have a conversation with business leaders, finance leaders on the other side, to build that trust that you're as valuable, as invested in making a company a great place, right? You should be conversant with numbers and data. These are the 3 pro tips. I think if people take care of this, this would be good enough.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Hemang, and taking your time and coming over here to share about your experience, the struggles, the challenges. Thank you so much for inspiring me, because this is something different kind of prospect I had when it's come to HR. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Great. Thank you.
And this just another gift for you. Here are my 3 takeaway from this episode. The first one is a feedback. It's very important when you want to give the feedback to your employee. Maybe the time is very important. And when you talk about feedback, it has to be feed forward. That is one of the best takeaway what I had from this episode. The second takeaway is employer branding. In present trend, it's very, very important. Along with the personal brand, employer brand also very important, because the prospect of employee who want to join your organization, they check about your brand in the market and they're going to join. If you want to hire a right talent people, you need to focus more on employer brand. The third takeaway from the episode is sports and management go hand in hand. It means you need to be more creativity when you have a management along with your sports like mentor, coaching, those kind of things, how you want to manage your team. These are my three takeaway from this episode 12, The Leaders Speak. If you like this episode, please do subscribe and share with your professional friend circle. See you in the next episode. Thank you.